All right, Scott, let's talk about these quick hits. Now, Moody's said they were going to downgrade the banks this week. Let's see if they keep with that. Wells Fargo, what do we do?
Well, the banks have been, like we said, a laggard. They haven't had any upside. Wells Fargo, you take a look at the chart here, it has, really had no traction whatsoever. If Moody's comes out and downgrades the banks and they don't go down, that's a sign that maybe, they're oversold enough and priced in enough that they can go higher. I would say Wells Fargo, if it starts getting above 26, you could see a move. But right now, if you have to be in a tier 1, stay in a tier 1. Do not add. Use this 23 as your stop. Same type of thesis on all these banks. But if it starts to break these lower pivots to the upside and a downgrade can't get lower, maybe that would be very helpful for the markets.
All right. Oracle, Adobe, they both report on Tuesday. So how do you trade this ahead of the earnings? Because there's a lot that's going on with Oracle. They've got exposure to Europe. They've also got exposure to the financial sector. They have some bad things happening, but they have some good things happening. So it's a little 50-50.
Well, that's why you have to see where it is on the chart. So if it had a big move going into earnings, it's a little bit, I'd be a little bit more cautious taking it into earnings. But Oracle has been one of those chosen stocks that has acted well over the past few years, better than a Microsoft, better than an Intel. But Intel recently just had a nice pop. We'll get to that. If you look at Oracle here, I would say if you're long it, this actually broke above this lower pivot. It participated in this 5-day move. It's above one of the key moving averages. I wouldn't just initiate it ahead of earnings, but I would hold it. And on a good report, it could pop to 31, and that's where I would sell some and just keep trading the range here. I only like buying these mega caps on extreme weakness because if you buy them when they're up, they just never tend to reward you.
All right, you mentioned Intel. Intel had a great comeback. Can they keep it going?
Yes, I have to give Alex some kudos. She came in here last Monday telling me about the Intel Developers Conference with Microsoft. I kind of chuckled. But I said, you know what, you could buy it in the low end of the range, but Intel never gives you more than just a day-and-a-half move. It gave you a 5-day move. So what's important now is you look at Intel, it just shows you could time things. Look at this lower pivot. This is where it was the day we spoke about it. I talked about maybe buying it for a move to 21-ish, and look where it went. It went to 22, to the old resistance. So now, for Intel buyers, if you sold this extension, I would say you look to buy back some Intel around 21, and if it holds higher, it could remain in the game for higher prices this year because people need a place to put their money. They need a name they need a dividend, and they need liquidity, and some of these mega cap stocks are starting to provide that, so I would say the complexion is changing a little bit.
All right, let's talk about Baidu. It looks like the lows are starting to get higher there.
Yeah, it's moving up. It didn't really blast off like an Amazon or an Apple last week. It's getting tight. I'm going to look for Baidu above 149. This is a nice tight. I love tight ranges because it gives you an entry. So if this starts to get above 150, you could see a move higher. So I would stay tier 1 if anything. And if you're looking just to trade it, don't trade it until you see a 30 to 60-minute close above 149, and then it could get frisky.
All right, we talked about coffee earlier. Let's talk about Mexican food, Chipotle. I'm a little uncomfortable with this PE. It feels very high to me, but you tell me. I mean, can we keep moving?
Well, I go to the gym at lunch and I walk by Chipotle and the line is just
There's
around the corner.
always a line,
It's
right?
crazy, and that stock action, says it. You look at it here, it made a nice move off of support. It's above all the moving averages. Nice tight range. Seems like it's an institutional favorite in the game. I would say if the market gets some more traction above 319, 320, I wouldn't want to be short this thing. But, I would say my traders will be looking for a breakout move. Then we go to the old highs and then even higher. This looks good. This looks institutional quality.
All right, so we've talked about all the good things that Chipotle has. Let's talk about all the bad things that Netflix has done. I mean, it has just creamed the investors. People are just not happy. The customers aren't happy. No one's happy. Over the weekend, they're splitting. So
Right.
what do you do with that?
Well, hopefully people have already adjusted all their positions for Netflix. Over the course of the past 2 months, I talk about a go-to list. And I think 5 to 8 times I've been like, why is Netflix so weak? Why is it not bouncing back with the other go-to stocks? So when you see things like that, you have to read into it saying maybe someone knows something. And obviously they did because they came out and they lowered all their subscriber growth and whatnot. If you look here at Netflix, technically, it showed you when it changed character, when this uptrend broke that started in March. It broke below it, retested, couldn't get back above it. And then every time the market rallied, this is not a rally for Netflix. Look what it used to do. It used to go from here all the way up, from the bottom, make big moves. Now it kept making like lower highs, high, lower high, lower high, lower high, just showing extreme weakness. So that's when you have to lighten up. That's when you have to take notice. And now look at it. 2 huge down days after that pre-announcement. So now I would say as far as Investors, it's tough because it's going to take so long to get rid of those memories. As a trader, you know, it's coming into an area, just fill this gap. I would use for a trade Friday's low. So what does that mean? That means you have a stop, you have a gauge right here. This low is, what is this? This is 154.14. You know, if you want to be long versus the low, that's okay. If you want to be short through it, if it comes back above it, you know the drill 80-20 trade, then you're long at this level versus the level. Look at it as an action area.
Okay.
And long term, that means you could be wrong for a long time. Maybe investors can buy it. I'm going to look at it as a trade and use that 154 as a pivot.